Welcome to my channel, my friends. You know many English words, so why can't you speak confidently? Comment yes if this is your problem. Chapter 1. I didn't have the sentences I needed. When I first tried to learn English, I didn't know where to begin. Everyone around me seemed confident. They spoke English in small sentences that sounded natural. They didn't think too much. They didn't translate in their minds. They just spoke. But I was different. I knew some words, but they were like broken pieces of a puzzle. I could not put them together. I could not make them fit. When someone talked to me in English, I understood nothing. My mind went blank. My heart beat fast. I wanted to hide. I wanted to pretend I didn't hear them. I wished I could just disappear. I did not know the sentences that everyone else already knew. I knew hello, but after that, I didn't know how to continue. I would say one word and stop. I felt small. I felt slow. I thought maybe I was not smart enough. I remember sitting in class, listening to the teacher speak. She talked in English, slowly and clearly. My classmates were nodding. They repeated after her. I just stared at the board. The words looked familiar, but I couldn't use them. I wanted to ask her something, but I didn't know how. I didn't know the simple sentence, "I don't understand." So instead of asking, I stayed quiet. My silence became my habit. I thought speaking was dangerous. If I opened my mouth, people would laugh. If I spoke and said one wrong word, I would embarrass myself. So I said nothing. I kept everything inside. English became a secret that belonged to everyone except me. I tried to memorize vocabulary lists. I wrote down words and repeated them again and again. Cat, dog, table, window, school. But when someone asked me a question, I still couldn't answer. I had words, but I didn't have sentences. It was like holding bricks without knowing how to build a house. My teacher told me to practice more, but she never taught me how to use these words in real life. I thought learning English meant knowing many words. I thought if I knew 1,000 words, I would magically speak. But I was wrong. I didn't need 1,000 words. I needed 10 sentences. 10 simple sentences that I could use again and again. I remember the first time someone spoke English to me outside the classroom. A tourist in my town asked, "Excuse me, where is the market?" I understood the question. I really did. But I did not know how to answer. I only knew the words go market and right. I tried to speak, but my mouth refused to move. I stood there frozen, staring at him. After a moment, he smiled and left. I felt defeated. I thought, is this how my life will be? Always silent? Always afraid? That night I could not sleep. I replayed the moment again and again. I kept thinking, if only I had a simple sentence. If only I knew how to say it. That moment changed me. I began to see English differently. I didn't need grammar books. I didn't need long lectures. I needed real language, the language that people use every day. Short sentences, simple sentences, sentences that help you survive, not impress. I wish someone had told me earlier that sentences are the secret, not vocabulary lists, not grammar tables, sentences. The bridge between thinking and speaking, the small key that unlocks every door. When I started learning sentences, everything changed. I could suddenly talk. I could ask for help. I could answer questions. I could explain when I didn't understand. I didn't need perfect grammar. I used simple sentences, and people understood me. And when they understood me, I felt something powerful, confidence. That confidence pushed me forward. It made me want to learn more. It made me want to speak more. And step by step, I improved. Looking back, I wish I had learned sentences on the first day. I wouldn't have been silent for years. I wouldn't have wasted time trying to memorize hundreds of words. I wouldn't have feared every conversation. If someone had given me 10 simple sentences, I would have started speaking immediately. But no one did. So I learned the hard way. I struggled. I failed. I embarrassed myself. And that is why I am here with you today. I don't want you to struggle like I did. I don't want you to feel small. I don't want you to hide your voice. You deserve to speak. You see, when you know sentences, English is no longer a mountain. It becomes a staircase. One sentence at a time, one step at a time. You don't need to reach the top today. You just need to take the next step. And these sentences will help you climb. They will help you talk to people. They will help you ask questions. They will guide you in shops, at school, at work, online, anywhere. They will give you power. Not complicated power, not big academic power, but everyday power. The power to be understood. You are not bad at English. You have simply been trying to learn it in the wrong way. You were told to learn words first, like everyone else. But your brain does not want isolated words. Your brain wants patterns. It wants sentences. It wants something it can use. When you speak, you don't search through a dictionary in your mind. You search through stored phrases, like, I need help, or I don't know. That is how native speakers speak. They don't build sentences from scratch every time. They pull sentences from memory. They use what they already know. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that someone speaks to you in English. You listen to them calmly. You do not panic. You do not freeze. You simply answer with one short sentence. No fear, no shame, no confusion. Just a simple sentence that you know well. Imagine that moment. Imagine how it would feel. That is what these sentences can do for you. They are not just sentences. They are freedom. They are your wings. In the next chapter, I will give you the first 10 sentences that changed my life. They are simple. They are kind. They will protect you. They will help you speak even when you feel nervous. They are not fancy. They are not complicated. But they are the foundation. The foundation I never had, and the foundation you will finally receive. If you're ready, if you want to change your English forever, stay with me. Do not skip. Your journey is starting right now. Chapter 2. The first 10 sentences that changed everything. I still remember the day I learned my first real English sentence. Not a single word, not a vocabulary flashcard, a real sentence that I could speak. The sentence was simple: I am learning English. When I said it out loud, something strange happened. For the first time, I felt strong. I didn't feel stupid. I didn't feel like an outsider. I didn't feel like I was pretending. That single sentence gave me permission to be a beginner. It told people who I was, and why I might need time. It protected me. It was like a shield. English wasn't my enemy anymore. It became something I was slowly growing into. I didn't realize it back then, but learning this one sentence changed the direction of my life. Before that, when someone spoke English to me, I would panic. My mind would run in circles. I tried to translate everything in my head. I would think, what are they saying? How can I answer? What if I make a mistake? And then I would say nothing. Silence was easier. Silence was safer. But silence was also painful. It reminded me of how weak I was. It reminded me that English controlled me. I hated that feeling. I hated walking away knowing I could not respond. It wasn't that I couldn't think. It was that I didn't know the sentences. Not words. Not grammar. I needed simple lines I could use in real life. So I began collecting sentences like tools. Each one helped me survive in different situations. Today, I will give you the first 10 sentences I wish I learned on the first day. Not the 100 from the whole video. Only 10 for now. These 10 are powerful. They will help you speak in any situation. They will protect you from fear. They will help you when you feel small. They will open doors that vocabulary alone never could. The first sentence is the one I told you already. I am learning English. Say it slowly. Say it again. Don't whisper it. Say it like a real human being. When you speak this sentence, people understand you. They become patient. They don't expect perfection. They don't push you. When you say, I am learning English, you are telling the world that you are not finished yet, and that's okay. You give yourself space to grow. The second sentence is, I don't understand. This sentence saved me many times. Before I knew it, I would sit and nod like I understood everything, even when I didn't. Nodding is dangerous. It makes you look confident, but inside you are lost. Then later, when someone asks you something, you cannot answer. Everything falls apart. But when you say, I don't understand, people repeat. They explain. They slow down. They help you. That help is golden. This sentence is not weakness. It is courage. It is honesty. The third sentence is, can you please repeat? You will not understand everything on the first try. Nobody does. Even native speakers ask each other to repeat. But English learners feel ashamed. They think they must understand everything instantly. They think repeating means they are stupid. That is a lie. Repeat means respect. It means you care. It means you want to learn. When you say, can you please repeat? People slow down, and you finally hear the sentence clearly. Sometimes, one repetition is enough for everything to make sense. The fourth sentence is, speak slowly, please. Let me tell you something deep. Natives speak fast because they don't know they're speaking fast. It is automatic. But when they hear this sentence, something changes. Their brain reminds them you are learning. They adjust. Their tone becomes calmer. Their words separate. They give you space to think. They become your partner, not your judge. This one sentence has saved thousands of learners from frustration. The fifth sentence is, one more time. It is shorter than can you please repeat? But sometimes it is even more powerful. It is gentle. It is simple. It does not require big grammar. It is easy to remember. And the moment you say it, the conversation continues. This sentence is the bridge between confusion and clarity. I used it in shops, online chats, classrooms, and even at job interviews. Every time, it worked like magic. The sixth sentence is, give me a moment. This is the sentence that allows you to breathe. When someone asks you a question, you don't need to answer immediately. You don't need to rush. Many learners panic because they think they must speak instantly. They think a pause means they are slow. But pauses are normal. Pauses are beautiful. When you say, give me a moment, the world slows down. You give your brain time to think. You show confidence, not fear. The seventh sentence is, I want to understand. This sentence is more than grammar or vocabulary. It is intention. It shows that you are not here to pass a test. You are here to connect. When you say this, people feel your heart. They don't see you as a stranger. They see you as someone trying. And humans respect effort. When I first used this sentence with one of my teachers, everything changed. She didn't just teach me. She guided me. She wanted me to succeed. The eighth sentence is, thank you very much. It sounds simple. You might think it's too basic. But this sentence opens doors everywhere. When you thank someone, even for repeating or explaining, you create kindness. You create trust. English learners forget that language is not only about grammar, it is about emotion. When you show gratitude, people become your allies. They remember you. They help you more in the future. This sentence is not nice to know. It is essential. The ninth sentence is, I appreciate your help. This is the mature version of thank you. It tells people you value their time. You respect their effort. It makes them feel seen. When you say this sentence, even native speakers get surprised. They think, wow, this person is humble. They are respectful. Respect creates friends. Friends create English. English creates opportunity. And the 10th sentence is, the strongest one, I will try again. This sentence is the heart of your English journey. It does not matter how many mistakes you make. It does not matter how many times you freeze. It does not matter if someone laughs at you. When you say, I will try again, you stand up. You continue. You grow. This sentence is not just for language. It is for life. I did not know these sentences when I needed them. That is why I failed so many times. That is why I stayed silent. But once I learned them, Doors began to open. People became gentle. Conversations became simpler. My fear became smaller. And most importantly, I started speaking. Not perfectly, not fast, not like a native speaker, but I spoke. And speaking changed everything. You don't need 500 words. You don't need 30 grammar rules. You need sentences. These 10 sentences will protect you. They will make you stronger. They will guide you through your first steps. In the next chapters, I will give you more. Sentences for mornings, for school, for work, for shops, for mistakes, for confidence. But today, memorize these 10. Say them out loud. Feel them in your mouth. Let them become part of your life. If you do that, you will not be the same learner tomorrow. You will be someone who speaks.
Chapter 3. Sentences for your morning life.
When I finally understood that English was not just something I studied in books, but something I lived, everything began to change. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment. I stopped waiting for a teacher, a class, or an English-speaking friend. I realized that English was already all around me, in the smallest parts of my day. The moment I woke up, I could start speaking English to myself. Not hard sentences, not grammar lessons, just simple lines that described my morning. At first, I thought it was silly. I felt shy even when I was alone. But slowly, something magical happened. The more I spoke these small sentences in the morning, the more natural English became for me. It was like training my brain to think in English from the very first moment of the day. I remember waking up one morning, tired, confused, and still half asleep. I looked at my phone, and instead of thinking in my language, a sentence entered my mind. I am awake. It was simple, and it made me smile. For the first time, I didn't translate it. I didn't plan it. I didn't force it. It just came. That small sentence was a victory. It was not perfect English. It was not complex. But it was mine. It was real. I wanted more sentences like that. Sentences that I could use every single morning. In the beginning, I only used a few sentences. Then, I added more. I spoke to myself as I moved through the house, as I washed my face, as I brushed my teeth, as I ate breakfast. Every moment became a chance to practice English, not with a book, not with a teacher, with life. That is what I want you to understand. You do not need to sit at a desk or open an app to improve. You can build fluency by talking to yourself, sentence by sentence, every morning. Let me share the sentences I wish I learned earlier, the ones that changed my mornings forever. When you first open your eyes, say to yourself, I am awake. It may sound too simple, but simple is powerful. You teach your brain that English is part of your day. You show it that English is not only for school or exams, it is for life. This one sentence is like a soft wake-up call, not just for your body, but for your language. Then, when you sit up or stretch, say softly, I need more sleep. I used to laugh when I said this to myself, because it was true almost every day. But the point is not the content, the point is your habit. You are connecting your thoughts to English. When you leave your bed, say, today will be a good day. This is not only English. It is hope. It is confidence. It is a message to your brain that English is not pain, English is progress. If your mornings are difficult, this sentence will help you stand stronger. In those early days, I was still scared of English, still shy, still slow. But telling myself, today will be a good day, made me feel powerful. It made me believe in myself. And we now. Then, continue with the sentence, I am getting ready. Say it while you walk to the bathroom. Say it while you fix your hair. Say it while you wash your face. This sentence is important because it describes what you are doing. It trains your brain to connect action with language. You do something, you say it. In your mind, English becomes attached to real life, not to grammar books. When you brush your teeth, say, I am brushing my teeth. When you take a shower, say, I am taking a shower. When you get dressed, say, I am getting dressed. These sentences are not poetry. They are not academic. They are your daily foundation. They build your fluency slowly. They build your confidence gently. With every sentence, you become a little more comfortable, a little more natural. Then comes a beautiful sentence. I am eating breakfast. Maybe you have tea. Maybe you have bread. Maybe you have fruit. It doesn't matter. Say the sentence every day. The goal is not perfect grammar. The goal is to speak without fear. When you do this, your brain begins to understand that English is not a foreign enemy. English is something you can use to describe your own life. One of the most powerful sentences I learned was, I am leaving now. I said it every day before I left my house. Sometimes I whispered it. Sometimes I said it confidently. This sentence helped me prepare for the outside world. It gave me courage. It reminded me that I could speak English. When I stepped outside and heard English on the street, I did not feel like a stranger. I already had English in my mouth. I had already spoken it at home. After a few weeks, I added more sentences. When I walked to school, I said, I am going outside. When I went to work, I said, I am on my way. Sometimes I needed to hurry, so I used, I am late. Sometimes I was early, so I said, I am early. And on those days when everything felt chaotic, I told myself, I am almost there. These sentences gave rhythm to my commute. They taught me how to speak without thinking. You might feel silly the first few times you talk to yourself like this. You might look in the mirror and laugh. You might say a sentence and feel awkward. That is normal. It is part of learning. It is part of becoming confident. You cannot expect to speak to others if you cannot speak to yourself first. Your brain needs practice in a safe space. And there is no place safer than your own morning routine. When I started using morning sentences, something amazing happened. English stopped being a subject in my notebook. It became something I lived. I didn't know it at the time, but I was training my mind. I was building a new habit. Each small sentence created a small victory. Each victory made me hungry for more. I didn't care about mistakes. I didn't care about grammar. I cared about communication. I cared about progress. I cared about becoming someone who could speak. You might think these sentences are too basic. You might think they are too easy. But trust me, the basics are what change your life. The basics are what you use every day. You don't start with long conversations. You start with, I am awake. You start with, I am brushing my teeth. One step at a time, one sentence at a time. You don't climb a mountain in one jump. You take small steps, simple steps, safe steps, and every step counts. In the next chapter, I will take you out of the house. I will show you the sentences you need to talk to people. Not just yourself, but real people, friends, strangers, teachers, shopkeepers. These sentences will open conversations and keep them alive. They will help you speak without fear. But before that, I want you to do one thing. Tomorrow morning, speak your routine in English. Don't think too much. Don't worry about mistakes. Just speak. Say the sentences out loud. Let them move through your body. Let them become part of your day. Because when you start every morning in English, you will slowly become someone who speaks English, not someone who only studies it.
Chapter 4. Sentences for Conversation.
Speaking to yourself in English feels safe. No one hears you. No one judges you. Your brain has space to grow slowly. But sooner or later, you must face the real challenge, talking to other people. That is where most learners freeze. You know this feeling. You see someone speaking English, and suddenly your mind becomes empty. You forget every word you know. You try to answer, but only silence comes out. Your heart beats fast. Your tongue becomes heavy. You feel small and ashamed. You walk away, and later you think, why didn't I say anything? Why was I scared? It is not because you don't know English. It is because you don't have the sentences you need in your mouth, ready, fast, simple, automatic. The sentences in your brain are too big or too slow. They are trapped behind fear. When I finally learned conversational sentences, everything changed. I didn't have to think so much. I didn't translate inside my head. I didn't try to build sentences from random words. I just used ready phrases, like keys I could grab instantly. These sentences helped me survive the most important challenge, starting a conversation, and keeping it alive. Let me tell you something important. Conversations do not begin with long paragraphs. They begin with small, soft sentences that show interest, respect, and connection. Once you understand this, you stop being afraid. You stop thinking you're bad at English. You realize that speaking is not a big performance. Speaking is a series of simple human sentences. The first sentence you must know is, "How are you?" It doesn't matter who you talk to, a friend, a teacher, a coworker, a stranger at school. This sentence opens the door. It shows that you care. It makes the other person speak first. When you ask this, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to sound human. The moment you speak it, you no longer stand alone. A conversation has begun. Right after that, you will hear something like, "I'm fine," "I'm okay," or "I'm good." You don't need to panic. You don't need a complicated answer. You can simply say, "That's nice," or "I'm happy for you." These sentences make people comfortable. They show warmth. They show social intelligence. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are trying to connect. Sometimes you want to continue the conversation, but you don't know how. Your mind is blank, but your heart wants to talk. That is when the next sentence becomes your best friend. What do you think? This sentence is the secret weapon of confident speakers. You do not need to know many words. You do not need to express complex ideas. You just ask someone else to speak. They talk, you listen, you nod, you learn new sentences from them. People think you are polite. They think you are interesting. But all you said was 4 simple words. When I first used this sentence, I was shocked. I was talking to a classmate who was telling a story, and I didn't know how to answer. I felt nervous, and I could feel the silence coming. Then, with a small voice, I said, "What do you think?" His eyes lit up. He smiled. He continued speaking. I just listened. And when I listened, I learned. I learned how English speakers react, how they explain, how they joke. I didn't need to speak perfectly. I only needed the sentences that kept the conversation alive. You will not understand everything people say to you. That is normal. Even advanced learners get confused. Adults speaking fast, people using slang, accent differences, noise in the street. You don't have to pretend you understand. Pretending is painful. Pretending makes you weak. That is why you should use the sentence, "What do you mean?" This sentence is not rude. It is respectful. It tells the other person that you care enough to understand them clearly. And when they explain, you grow. You don't just survive the moment, you learn. The next sentence is not emotional. It is practical. I get your point. You don't need to agree. You don't need to debate. You just show that you heard them. People love to feel understood. They relax. They see you as a calm person. If you disagree, there is a second sentence you can use. I don't think so. Simple, clear, no drama. You don't need to justify yourself with complicated grammar. You don't need to defend your entire identity. You just express your opinion. This is how confidence feels. Small sentences, powerful results. There is another sentence that helped me more than I expected. I want to ask something. Many learners stay silent because they are afraid of interrupting. They don't know how to jump into the conversation. They wait for a perfect moment, but the moment never comes. When you say, "I want to ask something," people pause. They give you the floor. They listen. They treat you like someone who belongs in the conversation. And that feeling is priceless. When conversations get difficult, when the other person speaks too fast, when you need time, do not run away. Do not give up. Use the sentence, "Give me 1 second." That one moment of space changes everything. You breathe. You think. You remember your sentences. You answer. Confidence is not about speaking fast. Confidence is about not collapsing when you feel pressure. At the end of conversations, many learners don't know how to say goodbye politely. They wave or walk away awkwardly. But English has a sentence that ends conversations beautifully. It was nice to meet you. This sentence is like a gentle door that closes slowly. The other person feels respected. They remember you. They want to talk to you again. English is not just language, it is social energy. And this sentence creates that energy. Sometimes people say something to you and you understand it perfectly. You do not need to talk too much. You can simply say, "That makes sense." It shows intelligence. It shows maturity. It shows that you are engaged. You don't have to speak like a professor. You don't have to explain complex grammar or ideas. You just respond like a normal human being. These sentences taught me something deep. You don't speak English by constructing perfect grammar in your head. You speak English by having small sentences ready, like tools in your pocket. You don't need to be brilliant. You don't need to be fluent. You just need those small keys that unlock communication. And once the door is open, you learn more naturally than any book could ever teach you. You may think these sentences are too simple. You may think they are not enough. But let me tell you a truth. Simple sentences can change your entire learning journey. They changed mine. They made me speak. They made me feel safe. They made me connect with real people. And when I connected, I grew. Conversations are not grammar lessons. Conversations are human moments, and humans speak in simple lines.
Chapter 5. Sentences for mistakes and difficult moments.
There is a moment in every English learner's life when everything goes wrong. You open your mouth to speak, and nothing comes out. Your brain is full, your memory is empty, your heart is loud. You feel like a child again. You try to answer, but your tongue refuses to work. Your face becomes hot, your ears ring. You look down, and you think, "Why am I like this?" The people around you seem relaxed. They speak smoothly. They laugh. They do not fear mistakes. But you feel trapped. You want to disappear. You want to run away and never speak again. That moment breaks many students, not because they are bad at English, but because they don't know the sentences that protect them. Small sentences that give them time, that give them respect, that give them power. I remember the first time I made a mistake in front of someone who spoke fluent English. It was a simple conversation. A friend asked me a question about my weekend. I tried to answer, but I said the wrong tense. Instead of saying, "I went," I said, "I goed." It sounded strange. My friend laughed, not in a cruel way, but in a surprised way. I felt like the earth shook beneath me. I wanted to hide. My body became heavy. My mind screamed, "Never speak again." It wasn't about grammar, it was about shame. And shame is what destroys learners, not mistakes. Shame kills confidence. Shame makes students silent. I wish someone had handed me the sentences I needed in that moment, not advanced grammar, not long explanations, just simple lines to breathe freely again. The first sentence that changed everything was, "I made a mistake." Simple, direct, calm. Not "sorry, I am stupid." Not "my English is terrible." Just "I made a mistake." When I used it for the first time, my world shifted. I showed people that I was not afraid to be human. I showed them that I was learning. Their reaction surprised me. They didn't laugh. They didn't judge. They nodded. They waited. They listened. When you say this sentence, you control the situation. You own your mistake instead of letting it own you. The second sentence is even softer. I don't know the word. Every learner faces this moment. You are speaking and suddenly you reach a point where there is a hole in your vocabulary. The word is missing. Your mind stops. You panic. You think you are dumb. You try to force a complicated explanation. You sweat. But you don't need to fight. You just say, "I don't know the word." This sentence is clean. It is honest. It is strong. People understand it immediately. They do not expect you to know everything. You are learning. They might even help you. They might give you the word, and now you grow. Mistakes become opportunities, not disasters. The third sentence I wish I learned earlier is, "Can you explain this?" When you don't understand something, Don't pretend. Pretending is poison. You sit there nodding, smiling, pretending you know, but later you suffer. You lose more and more confidence. When you ask for an explanation, you do something powerful. You show interest. You show humility. You show courage. The person speaking to you will slow down. They will choose simpler words. They will help you. They will respect you. You do not need to say big paragraphs. You do not need to apologize 1,000 times. Just say, "Can you explain this?" There is another sentence that I learned late in my journey, and I wish I learned it sooner. I am practicing English. This sentence is not just communication, it is identity. When you say it, you remind yourself and others that you are on a journey, not finished, not perfect, but moving. I spoke this sentence to teachers, friends, strangers online, and it worked every time. People didn't expect perfection. They didn't correct every small error aggressively. They listened to me with patience. They saw me as a student, not a failure. One day, I was speaking with someone online. They were talking quickly, and I couldn't understand half of what they said. I froze. The old me would have pretended. The old me would have smiled and lied. But I took a deep breath and used the sentence I had practiced. This is hard for me. I expected them to be annoyed. But they weren't. They paused. They spoke more clearly. They helped me. That moment taught me that English is not a war. It is not a test. It is communication between two people who want to understand each other. Another sentence that saved me many times is "let me think." Many learners believe they must answer immediately. They think every second of silence is a sign of weakness. They rush. They panic. They make mistakes they could avoid. But silence is not weakness. Silence is a tool. When you say, "let me think," the world slows down. You get 2 or 3 seconds to breathe, to remember, to build your answer. Those seconds are precious. They give you control. They give you dignity. There are days when you feel slow, when your brain refuses to work, when every sentence feels heavy. On those days, you must know how to say, "I understand," slowly. This sentence is not apology, it is information. It tells the other person to slow down, not because you are incapable, but because you are learning. They do not think you are dumb, they simply adjust. They speak more clearly. They help you. You continue the conversation without fear. Some learners think that asking for patience is embarrassing. They are wrong. The sentence "please be patient" is one of the most powerful sentences you will ever use. It shows respect. It shows maturity. It shows courage. You are not begging. You are not apologizing for existing. You are asking for a human thing, time, and most people will give it to you gladly. I want you to understand something important. Mistakes are not the enemy. Silence is. Mistakes teach you. Silence kills you. When you make a mistake and freeze, you die inside. When you make a mistake and speak another sentence, you rise. These sentences are not grammar tools. They are survival tools. They are psychological shields. They protect your confidence when everything feels impossible. I thought learning English meant never making mistakes. I believed mistakes were signs of failure, so I avoided speaking. I waited for perfection. I waited for vocabulary. I waited for courage. And while I waited, the world moved forward without me. But when I accepted that mistakes were normal, that mistakes were necessary, I began to speak. I began to live. I began to grow. If you learn these sentences, you will not run away when you feel stuck. You will not feel small in a room of English speakers. You will not hide your voice. You will speak, not perfectly, not smoothly, but bravely. And bravery is where fluency begins. Chapter 6. Sentences for shopping, travel, and real life. The first time I needed English in the real world, I felt like a little child lost in a big market. The signs were in English, the shopkeeper spoke in English, the menu was in English, and I stood there with my heart beating like a drum. I knew so many words: food, price, buy, shop, but I couldn't use them. I stood quietly, hoping someone would magically understand what I wanted without me saying anything. That moment reminded me of something important. English is not learned in the classroom, English is tested in real life. Not when you study, not when you write notes, but when you need to ask a stranger a real question. That is when your confidence is born or broken. And if you don't have the sentences ready, you will freeze. You will think you are stupid. You will think you are slow. You will think English is impossible. But it is not impossible. You just need the sentences that help you survive in real life. Not academic English, not textbook grammar. Real English, English that helps you move through the world. In this chapter, I will give you the sentences I wish someone gave me early. Sentences that would have protected me in shops, markets, streets, bus stations, airports, hotels, and many places where silence hurts more than mistakes. One of the first sentences you must know is "How much is this?" This sentence is the key to almost every shop or online purchase. You don't need to talk like a professor. You don't need polite essays. Just 4 words. Speak them with calm confidence. When I finally learned this sentence, buying things became easier. No more pointing, no more guessing, no more fear. I would walk into a shop, look at something I wanted, and ask, "How much is this?" The shopkeeper knew instantly what I wanted to know. Communication started, English became useful. Sometimes the price is too high, or you want to know if there is a better offer. Then you use the sentence, "Is there a discount?" It is polite. It is respectful. It shows you are not rude, but you are not afraid to ask. Many times, I used this sentence, and the seller smiled. They reduced the price, or they explained special offers. They felt comfortable because I spoke clearly. You don't need perfect grammar, you need courage. There is another sentence that is very useful when you don't want to buy yet. I am just looking. Many English learners feel uncomfortable when shopkeepers talk to them. They feel pressure to buy something. They feel nervous. But when you say, "I am just looking," you give yourself space. The shopkeeper understands you are not ready. They leave you alone. You breathe. You relax. You continue exploring without fear. Sometimes you need a different size, a different color, or a different version of something. Instead of trying to explain everything in long sentences, you can simply say, "Do you have this in large?" Or "Do you have this in another color?" These are real sentences you will use hundreds of times in your life. They open the conversation, and keep it short. You don't beg. You don't apologize. You speak like someone who belongs there. If you finally decide to buy something, use this sentence, "I will take it." It feels powerful. It feels adult. It feels confident. I wish I learned this sentence earlier. Instead, I used to say nothing. I just stood there. I handed money silently. I looked confused. I felt like a child. But when I said, "I will take it," I felt like a real speaker, a real customer, a real person. Then comes the moment of payment. Most learners feel uncomfortable here because they think they must understand every word. You don't have to. Use the sentence, "Here is my money." Simple, clear. It closes the deal. The seller understands you have decided. There is no confusion, no panic, no extra conversation. After the shop, the real world continues. You go outside, you travel, maybe you ride a bus, maybe you go to a new city, maybe you arrive in a place where nobody speaks your language. That is when you need survival sentences. Simple sentences that guide you safely. The first one is, I want a ticket. This can work for a bus, train, cinema, museum, anything. You don't need to explain your entire life story. You don't need to panic. Just say the sentence. The person will ask questions from there. They will guide you. Sometimes you feel confused in new places. You look at the map, but everything looks like a maze. You are scared to ask someone. You don't want to look foolish. I lived that moment many times. I walked in circles, afraid to open my mouth. But the sentence that saved me was, I need directions. When I said it, the fear became smaller. People stopped, listened, and helped me. They pointed, they explained, they saved me from getting lost. But here is something important. Directions often become long, complicated, and fast. Native speakers talk quickly without noticing. They say things like, turn left, then go past the building, and then you'll see a big tree, and suddenly you are confused again. Instead of pretending, use the sentence, where is the bus stop? Or, is it far? Narrow the question. Make the answer shorter. Make the world simpler. Ask small questions. They will give small answers. Small answers are easier to understand. The sentence that saved me more times than I can count was, I am lost. When I said this, people didn't laugh. They didn't judge. They helped. They smiled. They showed kindness. Being lost is human. Everybody understands that feeling. You don't need big vocabulary. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need honesty. Once in a busy market, I couldn't find a certain shop. The streets all looked the same. My anxiety was growing. My heart felt heavy. I wanted to give up and go home, but I walked up to a shopkeeper and said the simple sentence, can you show me? Not can you explain the route. Not can you describe the directions. Just can you show me? He walked outside, pointed, and said, that way. He did not speak like a teacher. He spoke like a human. And I understood. That moment reminded me that language is not a test. It is help. It is connection. I want to tell you something honest. The world will not punish you for trying. It will punish you for staying silent. If you use these sentences, even if your accent is strong, even if your grammar is imperfect, people will respect you. They will help you. They will listen. You will survive every market, every bus station, every shop. You will not stand frozen. You will not feel like a child. You will walk with confidence. You don't need to speak beautifully to live your life. You just need these sentences. They open doors. They protect your dignity. They tell the world that you are learning, trying, growing. And every time you use them, you become stronger. Chapter 7. Sentences for Confidence. There comes a moment in every learner's journey when the biggest enemy is no longer grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation. The biggest enemy becomes the voice inside your head. That voice that whispers, you are not good enough. You will never speak well. People will laugh at you. That voice is louder than any teacher, louder than any mistake, louder than any lesson. It stops you before you even try. It kept me silent for years. I wasn't afraid of English. I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid of myself. I thought other people were my problem. But later, I learned the truth. The real battle is not outside, it is inside. And in that inner battle, sentences are your armor. Not sentences spoken to others, but sentences spoken to yourself. For a long time, I thought confidence came from being perfect. I believed I had to speak English without mistakes to feel strong. I believed I had to impress people to belong, and because I could not speak perfectly, I felt weak every day. I hid behind silence. I avoided conversations. I sat at the back of classrooms. I pretended to be busy so I wouldn't have to talk. I avoided eye contact. I waited for someone to save me, but no one did. I was waiting for a version of myself that would never appear, the perfect speaker. And while I waited, time passed, life passed, opportunities passed. Then something simple changed me. Not a teacher, not a course, not a book. A sentence. One day, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, I can do this. It was small, it was soft. But when I heard my own voice speak it, I felt something new. I felt like I was not weak anymore. That sentence was like a hand reaching into the darkness and pulling me forward. I didn't magically become fluent, but I took one step. That one step was more powerful than all the vocabulary I had memorized for years. It was the first moment I believed in myself. Not in the future, not when I became perfect, but right now. Soon after that, I started using another sentence. I am improving. At first, I didn't believe it. My English was slow. I forgot words. I still made mistakes. But I said the sentence anyway. Every day, every morning, every time I felt embarrassed. And slowly, something changed. My mistakes stopped feeling like proof of failure. They became signs of progress. I began to see English as a journey, not a competition, a road, not a prison. There is another sentence that I used often when my mind tried to push me down. I am not weak. When you are learning a new language, your brain gets tired. You think slowly, you speak slowly, and people might look at you differently. If you're not careful, you start to believe that you are slow and weak. I believed that for a long time, until one day, I looked at someone who spoke two languages, and I thought, they are strong. Then I realized something. I was becoming that person too. If they were strong, why wasn't I? From that day I said softly, I am not weak. It reminded me that learning a language is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of bravery. Then came the sentence that carried me through the hardest days. I will learn. Not maybe I can learn, not I hope I will learn, but I will learn. This sentence is like a promise to your future self. It stays with you when everything feels slow. It whispers in your heart when everyone else doubts you. I said this sentence every time I failed an exercise, every time someone misunderstood me, every time I felt stupid. And each time, the pain became a little smaller, and the hope became a little bigger. When I spoke English with native speakers, and my brain froze, I whispered in my mind, I am not alone, because you are not. Millions of learners are walking the same path. Millions of people make mistakes every day. You are not the only one who forgets words. You are not the only one who feels nervous. You are not the only one afraid. There is comfort in knowing that your struggle is normal. Saying I am not alone gives you peace. It tells your mind that this difficulty is not a personal flaw, it is a shared human experience. Another sentence that helped me every time I felt slow is, English takes time. We want everything fast. We want fluency in 1 month. We want confidence in 1 week. We want magic. But real progress is slow. Real growth is gentle. We don't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. We water it. We protect it. We wait. Language is the same. When I learned to tell myself English takes time, I stopped rushing. I stopped comparing myself to others. I stopped hating myself for not being perfect. I started focusing on improvement, not speed. There is one more sentence I want you to memorize. I speak better than yesterday. You don't need to be better than everyone else. You don't need to impress strangers. You only need to be better than your past self. Maybe yesterday you knew 10 sentences. Today you know 11. Maybe yesterday you were afraid to speak. Today you spoke 1 sentence. That is growth. That is victory. Celebrate it. Say it out loud. I speak better than yesterday. This sentence will lift you when everything feels heavy. And finally, the sentence that became my quiet anthem, I am growing. Growth is not loud. Growth is not dramatic. Growth is slow and quiet and invisible. You don't notice it every day, but one day, you look back and realize you are not the same person anymore. You understand more English. You speak more confidently. You don't panic when someone talks to you. You survived moments that used to scare you. You became stronger while you weren't looking. Saying "I am growing" reminds you that progress is happening even when you cannot see it. You might think these sentences are too emotional. You might think they are simple. But English is not only a language of grammar and rules. It is a language of courage, a language of confidence, a language of self-respect. Without that inner voice, no teacher, no course, no book can save you. You must speak to yourself with kindness before you speak to the world. When I learned these sentences, something powerful happened. I didn't just speak English. I became someone who could stay calm in English. When someone laughed, I didn't break. When someone corrected me, I didn't cry. When I forgot a word, I didn't run away. I spoke to myself first. I said, I can do this. I am improving. I will learn. And my brain listened. Chapter 8. The last sentences that make you fluent. There is a moment in every learner's journey when simple sentences stop being training wheels and start becoming real communication. You no longer speak just to survive. You speak to express your ideas, to share your feelings, to solve problems, to connect with others. Before this moment, English feels like a stranger. After this moment, it begins to feel like a part of you. In this chapter, I will give you the final sentences, the sentences that help you speak like a real human being who can stand in any conversation, even if you know only a few words. These sentences are small, but they carry power. They allow you to control a conversation instead of being controlled by it. They help you respond with calmness, confidence, and clarity. These are the sentences I wish someone gave me when I started. The first sentence is one that shows agreement without needing big grammar. I agree. When someone gives an opinion, you don't need to explain a long theory. You don't need to translate your thoughts. You don't need perfect grammar. You can simply say, I agree. This sentence makes you part of the conversation. It shows you are listening. It tells the other person that you are connected. Many learners think they must reply with long explanations, but most of the time, all you need is these two words. They open the door to the next sentence, the next idea, the next moment. But sometimes you will not agree. You will want to express yourself without making the conversation heavy or emotional. That is when you use the sentence, I don't think so. Not no, you are wrong. Not you are stupid. Not I disagree completely, just I don't think so. This sentence is polite, soft, and confident. It protects your relationship with the other person. It gives you space to speak honestly. When I first learned this sentence, I was afraid to use it. I thought it made me rude. But the first time I said it, the other person smiled and continued talking. They didn't attack me. They didn't judge me. They respected me. And for the first time, I felt like an adult in English, not a child. Another powerful sentence is, I have an idea. This sentence shows initiative. It tells people that your voice matters. You don't need to say something perfect. You don't need to be a genius. You just say, I have an idea. People will turn to look at you. They will listen. Even if your English is simple, your presence grows. You become someone with thoughts, not someone who only answers questions. The world respects people who think, not just people who repeat. There will be moments when you don't have an idea yet, when your mind is quiet or slow or tired. In those moments, you must know how to buy time without losing confidence. Use the sentence, I need more time. When I first used it, I felt embarrassed. I thought people would think I was slow, but the opposite happened. The other person paused, nodded, and waited. I realized something important. Conversation is not a race. You do not need to speak faster than anyone else. You just need to speak when you are ready. I need more time is a sentence of self-respect. It tells the world that you value your thoughts. Sometimes, You will reach a moment when your brain is tired, your energy is low, or the conversation has gone too far. People keep talking and you just want to breathe. That is when you use, "let's talk later." This sentence saves you. It protects your mental space. It says, "I cannot do this now, but I am not running away." It keeps the relationship alive, but gives you rest. When I learned this sentence, I stopped feeling trapped. I stopped feeling like I had to survive every conversation in one go. I learned that it is okay to stop. It is okay to pause. It is okay to continue later. Another sentence that helped me on many days is, "I will check." Someone asks you for information. Someone asks you for details. Someone expects an answer. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to guess. You don't need to panic. You can simply say, "I will check." That short line shows maturity. It shows responsibility. It shows intelligence. And it gives you one of the most precious gifts in language learning: time. The next sentence is more personal. "I will try." This sentence is simple, but full of life. It tells the world you are willing. It tells the world you are brave. It tells yourself that effort is enough. When someone invites you to speak, or challenges you to do something difficult, you don't need to say, "I am perfect," or "I know everything." All you need is, "I will try." I used this sentence hundreds of times. Each time, I grew. Each time, I conquered a small fear. Each time, my English became stronger. Sometimes, even trying is not enough, and you will make mistakes. You will forget words. You will say things wrong. You will feel embarrassed. But there is a sentence that makes mistakes feel small. "I will do my best." Not "I must be perfect." Not "I must succeed." Just "I will do my best." This sentence is gentle, wise, and honest. It frees you from pressure. It makes learning feel safe. When I said this sentence before speaking, my hand stopped shaking. My mind relaxed. The fear became smaller. When a conversation or a lesson is finished, there is a sentence that closes the moment beautifully. "I learned something today." This sentence honors your effort. It tells your mind to focus on growth, not failure. Even if you spoke slowly, even if you made mistakes, even if you understood only half, you still learned something. You are becoming someone who collects knowledge every day, not someone who waits for a perfect moment that never comes. And the last sentence, the one that I want to live in your heart forever: "Thank you for listening." This sentence is soft, human, and full of dignity. It reminds others that you appreciate their time, their patience, their attention. It reminds you that communication is not about perfection. It is about connection. When you say this sentence, people see the real you. They respect you. They support you. They want to talk to you again. These sentences are not tricks. They are not shortcuts. They are tools, tools that make you look confident, even when you are still learning. Tools that help people understand you. Tools that protect you from shame. Language is not only about speaking when you know everything. Language is about speaking even when you know only a little. Think about it. What makes someone a real speaker? Is it grammar? Is it vocabulary? Is it accent? No. It is presence. It is courage. It is the ability to continue a conversation, even when you don't know every word. You have that ability now. You can agree. You can disagree. You can ask for time. You can share ideas. You can try. You can grow. You can be human. You don't need 1,000 complicated sentences. You only need one powerful sentence at the right moment. And now, you know 100 of them. Your journey does not end here. It begins here. If even one of these sentences helped you today, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment which sentence you will use first. Your English future is waiting for you, and it starts with one sentence spoken bravely.